The NBA right now might be the most fair and equal it's ever been. And you see that when you look at teams like the Grizzlies, the Timberwolves, and the Magic. Not that long ago, these teams were in the lottery. But nowadays, we see them playing very competitive basketball in the postseason. And at the same time, older players like KD, LeBron, and Steph maintain their spots as some of the best players in the league while leading teams into the postseason. And outside of that trio, we see players like Paul George, who's 34 years old and had a really bad injury in his career, stay an all-star in 2024, and sign a max contract in the offseason. When you compare him to the stars of before, at this point in his career, not many were still able to impact the game like he can now, and some guys were retired at this point. So now when you go and look at the Western Conference, for example, there are 12, 13 teams in the Western Conference right now that are playoff level teams. And now we're going to see some teams, whether it be due to injury or whatever the case may be, have a bunch of talent on their roster, but end up being the 15th to 14th seed, simply due to just how competitive the Western Conference is now. And we see how equal the competition is when looking at how the playoffs have been for the past few years. For the past 6 years, a different team has won the championship. And with the talent today, teams like the Mavericks, the Thunder, the Timberwolves, the Knicks, and the 76ers can continue the streak. Another trend we've seen in the playoffs is the revolving door of success. Ever since the KD Warriors ended, only one team has really found consistent success in the playoffs, that team being the Boston Celtics. To show how inconsistent things have been for teams, let's use the Denver Nuggets for example. This is how the Nuggets ended their postseason from 2019 to 2024. In 2019, they lost in the second round to the Trailblazers. They made the conference finals in 2020. They got swept in the second round in 2021. Got gentlemen swept in the first round in 2022, won the championship in 2023, then lost in the second round a year later. We could look at other champions, but I think you get my point. The NBA might be the most competitive it's ever been, but has that been a good thing for the brand? While things like streaming services and pirating influence the numbers, NBA Finals viewership of series that were considered uncompetitive 2017 and 2018 were much better than modern viewership. And when you look at these modern finals matchups, a lot of them have been very underwhelming, due to underwhelming play, or due to injuries. Since competition has been so open and up in the air, we haven't seen defined players and teams of the 2020s, like we've seen in previous decades. No disrespect to the Jokic's and the Giannis's, but we're around the middle of the decade, and newer stars and teams haven't had the grip on the NBA that other teams and stars have had before. And as the new CBA comes into play, teams will be even more equal, since the agreement makes it so good teams won't be able to maintain the same really good group for a long period of time. Rookies and vet minimums will need to be brought in, teams will make bad trades that involve good players so they can stay under the second apron, and stars stand out less as teams focus on the collective and find ways to save money. So with all this in mind, why does the NBA want to go in this direction? Here's a clip from an Adam Silver interview that kind of explains why.
I see my goal as helping the league, I call it for shorthand, to become more NFL-like. And by that I mean, historically, I think if you asked a casual fan, are you going to watch the NBA Finals? They would say, well, who's going to be in it? And if you asked a casual NFL fan, are you going to watch the Super Bowl? They'd hardly ever say only if the Giants are in it. It's a national holiday. And I think a part of, my job is to take people who are fans of the game and by definition, create interest in whoever the teams are that are most successful, because those are the teams that they, in addition to whoever their hometown fan is or whoever their personal interest is, players and teams should think, I'm a fan of the game. This is the best basketball being played by definition because this team has gone to the conference finals or the finals.
The long-term plan for the NBA is to promote itself using the teams rather than the stars. Adam Silver used the NFL as an example, but I think soccer could even be brought up in this conversation. Nationally, basketball is chasing football, and internationally, basketball is chasing soccer. And while we of course have superstars in both soccer and football, things like the Champions League, World Cup, and Super Bowl aren't reliant on their superstars like the NBA is. When superstars retire or join different teams, the NBA doesn't have to worry about losing viewership. That possible plan does seem like it could take some power away from the superstars, but an element that would change things for the better is expansion. As the NBA gets more places to showcase the product, competition dips a little bit with the expansion draft, and some of the top stars in the beginning stages of the expansion would look a little bit better. At the same time, stars get new free agency locations and new opportunities to showcase their talents if they were to sign with a new team. How do you feel about where the NBA is headed right now? Let me know if you like this more unscripted format I'm trying out, and check out this video.